Hello there and welcome. This is Mikhail or Michael speaking, and today's video will start a bit untraditionally. One of the reasons why I haven't been updating in the last 2 weeks was some problems that happened to this channel. For some unknown reason, YouTube have decided to delete about 60% of my income that I earned through the month of December. Here you can see how much I usually make per video, about $100. And here you can see the end result of YouTube's action. When I tried to contact creator support, I was forced to talk to a bot. After a not long discussion, the bot told me that my money was taken away because apparently there was a suspicious traffic and that the views that I got were from bots or something like that. However, if we visit Audience tab, we can see that all of the views that I'm mostly getting are returning viewers, with relatively small number of new viewers. So the money for my videos were taken away seemingly random. Now this kind of thing is not new, a lot of channels already had this problem and hopefully it will be resolved soon. But as a result of these kind of actions by YouTube, I lost significant amount of income. And I am not even sure whether this will continue into the next months. I will continue making videos and will do so more regularly in hopes that this will be a one-time thing. Also, before we start with the video, as usual, I want to thank all who decided to support me financially, as your financial support was, and especially now when my income has shrunk, helped me significantly. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and let's continue into the actual video. Now I will start with the situation in the General Liman direction, where Russian offensive continued all throughout last few weeks. Here Russians as always attacked in the direction of Terni, Yampolivka, as well as settlements of Torske and Zarichne, attacked from Dibrova, and engaged in heavy fighting with Ukrainian forces within the Serebryensky forest. Ukrainians, however, did not sit idle, as they actively counterattacked Russians, negating their advance all across this front line. In fact, they were able to successfully push Russians from the settlement of Yampolivka at some point. Russian attacks in the direction of Torske and Zarichne were also fruitless. Same could be said about Russian attacks from Dibrova. However, situation is slightly different within the Serebryensky forest. Due to the nuances of fighting in thick forest, the fighting here had never stopped all throughout this war. It has been especially heavy in the last few months, as both sides continuously attacked each other in attempt to take full control over the forest, with Russians slowly coming on top as they continue to make progress here. And as a result, in the last 24 hours, Russians were able to advance from this road and capture about this much territory from the Ukrainian side. Now it is important to note that these small territorial changes should be considered as significant due to the reasons that I've provided a minute ago. Fighting here is especially heavy, and any advances can be called truly heroic. It is also important to remind not to underestimate importance of this forest, as the control over it will define the entire battle on this portion of the front. In my opinion, Russian capture of this forest is a question of time, and once it is done, the entire Seversk front will find itself in a partial encirclement, with Russians already having control of these territories, and with those ones to add. There were also some small territorial advance in the favor of Russians near Belogorovka, where Russians were able to capture a very small patch of a forest line and a road connected to it. From here, let's move all the way to Avdiivka city and discuss the situation here as well. Here, Russians continued their offensive operations in attempt to encircle the city as they attacked in the direction of Novokalinovo, across the rail lines and newly acquired positions to the other side of it, advanced along the rail line in the direction of the Dacha area, also in the general direction of Achertinie and Novobakhmutivka, attacked in the direction of Berdiche, and continued fighting within the village of Stepova. Russians also occasionally launched several attacks in the direction of Avdiivka coke plant. The reasons why the front here stopped moving is because Ukrainians started fierce counterattacks in attempt to stop Russians, and of course are able to do just that. There is no talk of Ukrainians actually repelling Russian attacks to a point in which they will be able to counterattack and recapture positions near Krasnogorovka, which currently Russians are using as an important logistical hub for the entire force fighting in this area. The city of Avdiivka itself is being targeted by Russian artillery and aviation. Here on this video you can see action and end result of such actions. With those bombardments of the city, Russians also attacked within this dacha area from the settlement of Vesely and from the settlement of Kamenka along this road. The reports of these attacks are extremely new, and it is still unclear whether Russians were successful in those endeavors. So currently, there are heavy fighting that are happening in this area. On the interesting note, there is a video of Russian attack from the settlement of Vesely as they advanced along the roads in the direction of Avdiivka itself. As you can see, this is a pretty massive attack, as Russians decided to use a significant amount of forces. Now, of course, because the goal of these attacks are to reach Avdiivka itself, so a sufficient amount of armor and infantry is absolutely necessary, not only to reach, but also entrench within the first buildings. On the other interesting note, we can see how easily Russian armored pieces traverse the rugged terrain that is Ukraine in this time of year. In the way, this video can serve as an argument in favor that Russians can traverse rough terrains more effectively than their Western counterparts. Now, the video itself is pretty long, about 2 minutes, but again, unfortunately, the end result of this attack is currently unknown. But due to the fact that we haven't received any videos of those set pieces of equipment destroyed, two scenarios are possible. Either Russians succeeded and acquired some territory here, or were stopped in their tracks and retreated with taking minimal losses or no losses at all. Again, there is no video on the internet showing this particular column being destroyed. From here, let's quickly discuss the situation on the southern flank. Russian forces continued their attacks within the industrial zone, as well as from the settlement of Spartak, from the settlement of Apitne in the direction of Avdiivka, and from the settlement of Vadiane in the direction of Severne and Tonenki. They also continued fighting in Pervomaisky and Vadiane towns. Almost everywhere, those Russian advances were met with fierce Ukrainian counterattacks, which stopped Russians from advancing. However, some resources claim that Russians were able to yet again advance from Apitne and capture more territories. At this point, these news are extremely fresh, and if they are to be true, I'm sure this map will be updated very shortly. Then let's quickly discuss the situation around Ukrainian-controlled village of Nevelsky. As recent report suggests, that Russians resumed their attacks in this area in an attempt to capture this village. For example, here on this video, you can see a lone BTR vehicle advancing on the zero line and firing upon Ukrainian positions located around Nevelsky. And as a result of these offensive operations, a small territorial gain is reported. Sources suggest that this happened here on this force line. As you can see, the map that I'm currently using has not updated this yet, but when it does, I am sure to report it. Now to the most interesting news of the day, let's move to the town of Novomikhailivka, or to be more specific, to the south of it. Reports are coming in of a massive Russian assault across this entire front in attempt to reach this road, which leads from Kostinivka right to the town of Vuglidar. Like I said, those attacks happened all across the front as Russians attacked from the town of Solodke and even to the very flank of Ukrainian-controlled Vuglidar. This was a surprise for Ukrainian forces, as they have not expected Russians to attack here and were too preoccupied with defense of Novomikhailivka. And although for a time they were successful at defending this town from Russian attacks, it seems that they have significantly underestimated this front. Russians were able to advance here quite significantly, and those are the territories they were able to acquire as a result of that. Now, those recent Russian territorial gains put them at a distance of about 5 kilometers to this very important road that I've recently talked about. With this, I end today's video. Hopefully it was to your liking and was informative enough. Again, this channel is going through some hard time, but I hope with your support it can survive and even thrive. I once again want to use this opportunity to express my eternal gratitude towards those who are already supporting me financially, as your support will help me significantly in those troublesome times. I also want to kindly ask you to consider supporting this video with a like, comment, and a subscription. Thank you in advance. As always, humanity calls me to condemn all violence against human beings. Have a good day, and always remember, Russia will be free and great.